Well, hello, this is Peter Combs from Bidamount.com and P.O. Combs Asian Art in Gloucester, Massachusetts, and it's Friday. This is our weekly video. As most of you know, we do these every Friday. We talk about what went on over on eBay this week, what happened on Katawiki, what's going on at other auctions around the world concerning Chinese, Japanese, and Asian art in general, and a little bit of Middle Eastern art once in a while for the fun of it. And this past week has been a busy week. One of the things I wanted to mention, many of you have seen it already, we did a preview video for Rob Michael's sale that's coming up on the 13th and the 14th of March. Looks like a terrific auction. He's got a lot of good, very, very good Chinese Ming, early Qing wares, some very good carvings, some fine Japanese bits at the end. It's a good sale. It's a good 2-day sale. And if you're not a customer of Rob's yet, check it out. There's a link to his website in the other video, and you got a few days left before the sale begins. It starts in about 7 days, so you can check it out. Now, over on the Bidamount site this week, a lot went on. There was a lot of activity. The Wellinghuis de Jager sale finished. They did rather well. We're going to go through some prices. Additional auction catalogs were added to the reference section on the site. And prices, there was a great bargain. Somebody got a fabulous bargain. We'll get into it later. A piece of silver that sold on eBay last week that went, I think, way under the money. And we're going to cover all of that. So let's get started. Let's dive into it. Let's see here. Over on Live Auctioneers, a few things that sold this week. This was from the Wellinghuis de Jager sale. I think this was a terrific buy. This was a rather large Chunlong period, underglazed blue and lightly enameled, with a lot of gilt flower dish. 37 centimeters, good size plate. About 15 inches wide. Here it is. It was a lovely example, and it looked to be in absolutely splendid condition. The red enamels on the birds, which was a nice highlight, and this is a classic case of the effect that can be achieved with just a few colors. The only colors on here are really just this sort of soft reddish salmony tone, a little bit of pink, and down here at the bottom, and then some gilding, black outlines, and underglazed blue, and you get this very, very elegant effect. Beautifully done, excellent drawing, and somebody picked this plate up for 300 euros plus the buyer's premium. It was estimated at 450 to 900 euros, and I think that was a reasonable range, and somebody got this on a single bid. I hope it was one of you. We always say leave a bid. I hope somebody just left a bid on it at the opening and see if they got it. So with the buyer's premium, they picked this up for around about $400 plus shipping. Not a bad plate, a beautiful looking plate, and in pristine condition. Pristine condition. Condition matters. And then the pair of vases. We talked about these a couple of weeks ago because I just thought they were sort of lovely. They were good size. They were about 18 inches tall each, and they had these nice cartouches with vases and precious objects down here at the bottom. And then they had these beautiful sides done, these very heavily gilded mask and handle heads, and then another set of vases on the other side. Beautiful enameling, very, very nice, lots of gilt work on the ground. And in the end, they did pretty well. They brought 3,200 euros plus the premium, so you're up around 4,000 for the pair, which was right in the range of the estimate, which we thought would look fine to us. And somebody got a very, very pretty pair of rather big vases, and in excellent, pristine condition. Counts. All right, and then on to the pair of porcelain making watercolors. I think somebody got a great buy on these. They went for, I think it was $850 for the pair. These were rather interesting. The seller sold them as I think they called them architectural paintings or something, which they do have architecture in them, but they were, more importantly, they were porcelain making examples. Here they are over on the right, working on them. We talked about it before, but I'll just go over it quickly. And here's the sort of an administration office. And then on the next one, they have pieces drying in the sun. Green, they call them greenwares when they're drying in the sun, getting ready to be, decorated and then fired and so forth. Somebody picked them up for $850 plus the buyer's premium, so about $500 a piece. All right, and so on eBay this week, we'll get into that. There's a very nice Chinese export painting of this same period that's up, and it's only up to about $80 or $90, which isn't bad. And then this was that very handsome, quite large. This was a big 22-inch tall piece of Satsuma with immortals all over it. It was estimated at $1,000 to $1,200, which I thought was very reasonable, and everybody liked it a lot. And it ended up selling for $3,100 with without the premium, so figure around $4,000. This was the Charleston, in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. Absolutely lovely piece of Satsuma. Really nice big piece, beautiful condition. Again, beautiful condition. All right, and it did well. It did just fine. It deserved it. It was a very good piece of Satsuma. And we're starting, as I've said for about the last year, it seems that increasingly there's interest coming back to Japanese objects and Japanese art, which is nice to see, because I think it's grossly overlooked. I think the Japanese material is just fabulous. And then I wanted to touch base quickly on this because I'd mentioned it a few weeks ago when this auction first went up. This was over on the global member pages. Was this rather nice piece of stoneware right here, late Yuan or early Ming period, somewhere in there. I thought it was just a nice, big, hunky, chunky piece of porcelain pottery. I liked the glaze on it a lot. I liked the crackle in it. Had a lot going on and very attractive. And somebody picked it up, I think, for just a good price right there. We had said the estimate looked fine. It was estimated at 450 to 900 euros for both pieces, including the Ming bowl. The Ming bowl is a very common type, and it wasn't in great condition, but the money was all in that monochrome, and it sold for 650 euros plus the buyer's premium. But a nice example, a really lovely example. And then a couple of other things I wanted to mention was we've got a few things up, rugs and carpets, because I know some of you like these. There's a sale coming up at Henry's Auction House in just a couple of days, tomorrow on Saturday. If you haven't checked it out yet, they're on Live Auctioneers and Invaluable. They're on the global pages. There's some links. And there's some very nice tribal rugs in there, and not too heavily estimated, and they put together some fairly nice lots. So if you like to buy a lot of old textiles, it's a good way to go. And there's some very nice Turkoman pieces in here. There's some good Caucasian pieces. There's some Chinese Ningxia examples and so forth. Really an interesting little sale. Not all high-end stuff that's unaffordable, but excellent. All right, this is one piece that's in there that I happen to think I like a lot, and I think the estimate is ridiculously low. It's a very nice Yomut Central Asian carpet from, as they say, from Turkmenistan, 19th century. Has this very interesting secondary gull, this cross motif here, is the fill for the field, and then these nice ends with these sort of angulated lattices or patterns running down them. This is a nice looking piece. And the estimate is just 100 to 350 euros. I think that's, I don't know why. It's maybe they have no reserve. I think this is an unreserved auction. Let's see here. It is 123 by 100 centimeters. So it's, roughly 3.5 by 3 feet, something like that. But a very nice looking rug. Really like that a lot. All right, and they also have the Chinese Ningxia seats or seat mats. These are old ones, 18th century, they think, and they look nice and loose. Old Chinese pieces are sort of loose and floppy. They didn't use tight weaves on them and so forth. They were meant to be used. They were very soft. And here you have a strip for 150 to 450 euros. I've seen individual panels of these bring that much, so we'll see where those go. But those are nice. If you're a Chinese rug or textile buyer, you want to check that out. And he also has this very nice, if you're looking for a great rug just to put down, it has some discoloration here. I think I'm not sure if that's a stain or if that's just a bit of change of wool that was used when it was woven. But it's a nice looking bee jar. They wear like iron, and this was a good size. It's 200 by 135 centimeters. Good looking bee jar rug, classic bee jar pattern, and estimated at 200 to 500 euros. It's had no bids. And somebody might grab that for a couple of $100. So do check that out. All right. And now over here, a couple of things. Like I said, we added we've added the rest of the catalogs. We're going to get to them. Christie's put theirs up this week. And if you come over to the homepage at Bidamount and click in the black box, free auction catalogs, it brings you over here. Now, something I wanted to mention, somebody made a comment in the video on last week's video because I mentioned, or this week's video rather, I mentioned that we have the catalogs posted to the site, and somebody commented that, well, anybody can get to these catalogs. You can go over to Christie's and get them. That's true. One, I think ours are a little better because we control how they're formatted, but also, as many of you know that have been collecting for any length of time know, that the major auction houses remove all the catalogs off their sites within a week or two, typically, of the sale ending. Once the sale is over, they may leave some of the items up, but they get rid of the catalogs, which often have a lot of good content in them, and it makes it a heck of a lot. If you have the catalog, it makes it a heck of a lot easier to find a sale rather than go to the sites post-sale in a year and have to search around to find things. So you can do it. It's not as easy, and it's nice to see the catalog displaying the auction in its full context, which is nice. So that's the big reason why we do it, and it puts them all in one place. But the fellow that made the comment is right. You can absolutely go over there and find their catalogs and use them. But we think that having them available this way gives you a lot more options, and it gives you all of the major auction houses and some of the mid-range auction houses all of their references in one place, which is handy, and you can search for them up here in the box if you've never used the search thing. All right, now what I wanted to point out was that the Sotheby's has this sale coming up, and a lot of you have heard about it, is this Yongle bowl that was found in Connecticut. The CNN has covered this. All the media has been covering it. They're very excited because it's one of those get-rich-quick stories, and it covers this bowl, this Yongle bowl that was made, that was bought apparently at a yard sale for around $35. That's the story behind it anyway. And it's a very rare type, and we're going to click through. There's a nice article in here written by Regina Crowell about the Yongle kilns, about porcelain production during the Yongle period, and how it was evolving and how it changed, and about the pattern that was used. And it's a very interesting story, and you should go over and read it. And basically, the Yongle emperor, if you don't know, when he came into power, they had been making blue and white porcelain before that. They'd obviously been making it in the Yuan period and then the Shredai period. But what he did was they took over, the imperial family took over the kilns officially. They didn't just send orders up and have people up there supervising. They actually physically took them over, like just as they did in the bronzes and other works of art, and put their own people in charge of them, and they began making things that way. And these bowls are quite interesting and quite unique. And the one that's coming up for sale is it's a very tight kissing cousin to one in the Palace Museum. And there are not many of these around. They found shard pits with lots of fractured and broken pieces in this pattern, but not a lot of complete examples of this particular bowl. And these bowls, a lot of them ended up in the Middle East, and the Chinese at that time were rather sensitive about the Muslims who they were trading with. There was a problem, of course, in Muslim culture with depicting human forms, on objects, especially Allah. So they came up with other designs and patterns that were Middle Eastern in flavor and Middle Eastern in style, and that's how a lot of these bowls were decorated for that market. And they didn't just ship them out willy-nilly. They were sent as specific gifts, and they were anything that was fired that came out that was not perfect. They were destroyed. They were crushed and buried because they found the kilns and they found the shard sites now. But it was a way of preserving the integrity of the bowls, got them to be known for their high quality, and as a result, there aren't a lot of them around, and the prices are very high. And this bowl it's not marked, but it has a $300,000 to $500,000 estimate. It's fresh to the market, and it could go through that. I don't think they really know what it's going to bring. There's been a lot of hype, a lot of excitement about it because it's newly discovered, and of course the story behind it is fabulous. It was found at a yard sale. How great is that? Many of you may remember there was a sung bowl that was found with lotus patterns cut into it a few years ago. It was bought at a yard sale in the New York area for $2. It went for over $2 million. And so a lot of people are very excited to see how this bowl does. And we'll see. It may go way over its estimate. Hard to say these days with things the way they are, but that's it. And the catalog, like I said, is on the site. So check it out. It's an interesting story about the bowl, and we'll know in a week or so how it does. The sale is on the 17th of March. It's about 12 days away. It's coming up. And the other thing, the Japanese catalog and Korean art catalog is now up. There's a lot of nice material in here, and the catalog is beautifully laid out. And one of the things I wanted to mention was a number of months ago, a couple of people have emailed to remind me. One, I've noticed that the Christie's catalog is including a lot of very great contemporary Japanese art, like these metalwork insects and this sort of thing by Mitsuda Haruo. He was born in 1980s. Obviously a very contemporary artist, but makes terrific looking things. So if you like contemporary Japanese art, I think you might like to develop a taste for it. Check it out. It's worth looking into. It's certainly nice looking stuff. And let's see here. Where is that wood carving? I want to show this quickly. We're going to cover it a little bit more in the when we do the video next week. We're going to do a video on this next week, but I wanted to cover this because you may remember the wood carving by, there we go, here it is. A couple of months ago, Kato Gizan, another contemporary artist, did this work of did a work that was on the cover of the catalog of a man with steel staples holding the piece together. Well, they did very well. It brought several $100,000 against a $30,000 to $40,000 estimate, and they've gotten another piece from the same series of a woman, an absolutely beautiful woman, dressed in these loosely hanging robes, just as he did with the man, in this beautiful, beautiful face and beautiful body and hands, sitting here. Just a great example, and we're going to see how it does. It has the same estimate as the last one. I think 30 to 40,000 is what they put on it. There it is, and we'll take a look at it. What's the estimate here? 40 to 50,000. I think that's what the other one was estimated. But anyway, it's an interesting bit of modern Japanese art, and there is a growing interest in this field. If you're a young dealer or just getting into it, this is something you might want to learn a lot about, because I think, as we saw in China, modern art was the future, and now we're starting to see it increasingly with some of the great Japanese artists that are alive today. So keep that in mind. We also got the Indian and Himalayan and Southwest Asian works of art catalog up. And then we did this. This is sort of fun. We threw in into the mix this time around the art of the Islamic and Indian worlds, including Oriental and rugs and carpets. And the reason I did it was I thought it would be fun to have it as sort of a comparison, especially for some of the ceramics like this. The jar on the right is a piece of Iznik ware. These were made in Turkey. This was made in the mid-16th century, and obviously done with an extensive amount of Chinese influence. The same thing with the rimless Iznik pottery dish up here from around 1530, very Chinese in flavor. The Chinese blue and white wares were so popular in Turkey that the Iznik potters, who were the best potters in Turkey, took to doing as much as they could to replicate their wares at the Iznik kilns. And it's a good story. And this is more Iznik ware. And the earliest Iznik pottery was very, very close to Chinese pottery in porcelain, very closely emulating the grapes pattern dishes and all that. And then over time, as they got into the latter part of the 1500s, 1600s, and so forth, they became much more Islamic, much more their own taste began being made onto them, like these tulip pattern plates and so forth. And these are not inexpensive. These have been heavily collected for a long time. This particular plate right here is estimated at $40,000 to $70,000. Now keep in mind, a lot of copies of these were made in Greece and other places around the Mediterranean in the 20th century, especially because they were so valuable. The originals were so valuable. So you want to be very careful when you're buying these. To make sure it's an old one, all right? And the other thing, there's more and more Iznik in here. This is quite a lovely piece with this fish scale pattern. Same pattern you see on some Chinese works of art, and then they've added their own stuff. And you can go right through. The Iznik pottery is wonderful, but there's a very lovely component of some very early rugs in this sale. This is Persian rugs. Typically, when you buy Persian rugs, you don't generally see them around that are, in any kind of good condition that are older than about 1880, 1875, because they were used, they were worn out. And in this sale, they have a bunch of 18th century Middle Eastern and Central Asian rugs that are in absolutely wonderful condition. This is a Turkish Ladik prayer rug, for example, and it was dated to what is the date on this? Is 1854, and it looks as good as it looked the day it was made. The same thing with this Anatolian carpet, 18th century. And there's some really great carpets in here. If you enjoy carpets, you enjoy the colors, and you find the connection between China and the Middle East, the trade, the swapping of ideas, the swapping of designs, and all this evocative and interesting to you. Pay a little attention to Islamic designs and how they were influenced by trade and how they developed their own artistic styles. So it's really great stuff. And you see it very clearly in carpets. All right, and they have some absolutely breathtaking carpets in this auction. These are really, really, really early. This is a very early Cuba carpet, 18th century and so forth. 18th century rugs are, in any kind of condition, are very, very rare. Here's a fabulous pinwheel Kazakh rug from the Caucasus in excellent condition. And then they ironically, in the Muslim world, this is the funny thing that's funny, is that they had a prohibition on they had a prohibition on painting and depictions of human forms, but they oddly did do carpets during the Khoijar period with people all over them, sort of a break from the prohibition. And then these prayer rugs and so forth. So it's an interesting segment to go through, and these are some really stellar examples. And the estimates on these are a lot less than they were 20 years ago, as these rugs have softened considerably in price. They're probably half to a third of what they were some time ago. But it's worth checking them out. Some great textiles in here. And these Chinese rugs and so forth look absolutely fabulous with Asian works of art. They're very complimentary. And then on to this, important Chinese works of art has been posted by Christie's. We've gotten that up. And now moseying along over to what happened over on eBay last week and Katawiki. There's some good prices, and we're going to get into it. Talk a little bit about that silver set I was talking about. They had this very nice Yongle to Qianlong period dish with these sort of spiky bamboo leaves coming out and these blossoming flowers. Again, it looked to be in lovely condition. There's a lot of good porcelain turned up lately that's in great condition. I'm amazed. And it ended up selling for $600 with a $600 to $700 estimate. They called it Yongchen period, but it could also 1723 to 1735. This was probably done a bit later in the period, closer to the 1735 era, and it could have just as easily been made during the Qianlong era, a year and a half, 2 years later. But anyway, it was a wonderful plate, regardless of when, made in the 1730s sometime. All right. And not bad at all. And then this very nice Chunxi Chongzhen period pine tree with the boatman under it. It's a very famous pattern. This pattern, we've talked about it before, turns up fairly often. It's a well-known, it's not a stock pattern, but it was a popular pattern. Very Japanese in its taste, but made in China for the Japanese market, and ended up selling for $278. But it was in good condition. It had the typical fritting on the edge, but no breaks, which made a difference, and it did quite well. And then this very nice Kangxi period Chinese Amari bowl, or shallow bowl, with a pond scene with a wood duck in the center, and these very, very nicely done lotuses coming up out of the water, so forth. And then this nice cavetto with a diaper pattern, and then again these spaced little compartments or cartouches, and then an outer section of more ducks and birds, a sending bird and a swimming bird, and more flowers. So they sort of took the central scene on this and then elongated it and ran it around the rim as almost like a repeat. And very pretty. Ended up selling for $367. This was a Stadby 54. Not a lot of feedback. Is over in the UK in the West Country, but a nice looking piece of porcelain. And then on to this. This is more likely a Yongchen period shape rim dish. Rather unusual form, and I very much like the overglazed blue coming up through the center here. The rocky formation done in overglazed blue with this very sort of small balustrade around it. So it gives you the idea that these are enormous flowers, enormous bounty coming out of the garden, much larger than they actually were, of course. And then this very nice, nicely placed outer border with citron Buddha citron fingers and so forth, the Buddha symbols. Lovely. And ended up selling, somebody got a great buy, $97. Can't beat that. All right, I think it had a hairline or something in it, but who cares? That was an absolutely great buy. Had 24 bids, so I suspect somebody left one bid on it, and then let's take a look. And I suspect that somebody came in. A couple of people came in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, and chased it all the way up. Looks like maybe there were 3 or 4 bidders pursuing this, and number 88 was the winner. Looks like he either started at the beginning or jumped in at the end. But at any rate, a nice looking plate, and it brought almost no money at all. I thought that was an absolutely great buy. There are bargains out there. I would think that's about an 8-inch plate. Oh, they misdated it. Look at that. They said it was 1800 to 1849. It wasn't, but then they called it 18th century, and maybe they got their centuries mixed up. But anyway, that plate looks to me like it was made around 1730. All right, so he was off on the date, and somebody spotted it and got an outstanding buy. All right, and then on to this, the ivory card case. This is sort of an unusual one. Typically, they carve them right to the edge. They don't leave a frame around it like this one. So I think that's kind of nice. The carving quality is B+. It's good carving. It's not that ultra fine Cantonese style stuff that we've seen before, but very nice quality. Here's a better shot of it. Good detail. The balustrades are nicely done, 3-dimensional. The buildings and so forth. The willow trees are well done. And somebody picked this up for $530, which I think was a perfectly reasonable price. There is a prohibition supposedly on selling ivory on eBay. But we all know that's sort of a joke because you can find it all the time on here if you know where to look. Any rate. And this was the silver set that I think somebody got a great buy on. The seller, for some reason, didn't know or didn't look up the mark on the bottom, KMS. All right, and KMS was a very well-known. That silver book that I refer to all the time, right here was this is the book that's on the bookcase that we have that has all the silver marks, and it's easy to look up. KMS was Kwang Man Shing. And Kwang Man Shing himself was not a silversmith. He was a retailer, but a famous retailer in Hong Kong who handled Japanese works of art and so forth. There was a whole debate for a long time about whether he was a maker or who he was. He was often confused with another man named Kang Mao Shing, who was no connection at all. There was this big back and forth. There's a wide variety of marks that were found. KMS refers to the store, and then sometimes there'd be a small mark next to it would be that of the silversmith who made the piece. And he handled just top quality stuff all the time, like this spectacular pot on the left and this nice bowl. He was a high-end retailer, in other words, and but top quality. And somebody picked up this tea set for $635. Okay, and I got a feeling that had it been cleaned up a little bit, give it a little polish, and take a better presentation, frankly, I think this might have brought double or even triple that amount. It had nice bamboo handles on it. Still had its insulators, the ivory insulators here on the handles, which are often cracked and gone. But the pieces were just filthy dirty. And here you have a bamboo handle added to the top. All right, it had a dent in it, but just so you know, silver pots like this, you can take them to a local silversmith. He can heat and tap that dent out, and you'll never see it because silver is great to work with. But at any rate, $635 for a rare set of partial silver set. That's a absolutely great buy, absolutely great. And then over here to this was another Amari pattern, sort of an Amari pattern, pink and yellow, very pretty little plate, simply done. There's the back of it. 18th century, and somebody picked it up for $142. Nice looking thing. And then on to this. We included these in the newsletter because they're a fairly standard form of vase, but what I liked about it was the black bowls that they put on them right here. Did they show any other pictures of them? I thought that was great to do them in black. There's the pink Fu line running down it. They used black a fair bit in here. Here are the Buddha wheels. And they have a sort of a colored, looks like a frog or something on here. Where's a better picture of that bull? No, they didn't really highlight the bull. I guess they should have. That was the most interesting part. Any rate, these wonderful black bowls on it, and these nice big gilt chimera handles coming off the sides and so forth. Just a lovely pair of vases with a ruffled shaped rim. And one of them had a little tiny break out of it. You get that fixed easily. And $409 for the pair. And these were of nice size. These were a good size. These were just about 8 or 10 inches tall, but they're very, very pretty, very interesting, and quite unusual. And I don't think $400 was a bad price because they're an unusual color palette and unusual pattern. And then on to this. This was that wonderful silk that I liked so much last week. I've talked about it for 2 weeks just because I love the detail, the very, very good detail of the faces. The colors were good. I liked the way it was patched together and so forth. The robes were nicely done. Just very, very nice. Good expressions on the faces. Here's the dragon. There they are. The details were just excellent on this. And a lot of people liked it. And it ended up selling for $4,350. Did have a stain on it, but it wasn't anything significant. And the way it's put together, you wouldn't even really notice it. So what's the problem? $4,350, and I think it was a great thing. This was from a seller here in the States, out in Yellow Springs, Ohio. All right. Now let's see here. The robe, the silk, silver metallic and blue ground late Qing robe. It's a nice one, and in the end, it did exactly what we thought it would do, as we discussed last week. Brought $2,551. And if you missed this one, there's another one very, very similar to it in the current upcoming sale with, I believe it's Bonhams has one, and they put a $2,500 to $3,000 estimate on that one, which is right in the range. So you might want to check it out. But it also tells you can sell things on eBay just as much as they tend to estimate them at the big auction houses. And then there was this. This was a really interesting mid-19th century Chinese silver, which makes it unusual. It's very early for Chinese silver. And this was by Kumxing, who was one of the great silversmiths of China. Those of you that buy that know who he was. He was a top quality silversmith. But this is an interesting scene. It has an execution scene. Here's the tax collector. And they're executing somebody on it who didn't pay his taxes. So somebody ordered this pattern. Maybe some government official, a Western government official, thought it would be funny. Talk about a display of power. And on his tea service, he's got Chinese figures executing those that don't pay their taxes on time. And this ended up selling for $2,905. But what a rare couple of pieces of silver, and beautifully polished. And this was sold by Super Shrink. We feature often on here because he's a very good silver dealer. Also English silver and French silver, all kinds of silver. It's all he does is silver, and a top quality dealer. All right, and now over here to the porcelain. This was just a nice little pair of rose mandarin garniture mantle vases, part of a garniture set. The shape and style is of a form that was first done during the 18th century and continued well into the 19th century, and these were made around 1840, 50, somewhere in there. But they were in nice condition. The gilding was intact. The enamels looked pretty good. Don't see any problems with them. No, they look fine. Okay, there they are. And somebody picked them up for $321 for the pair. Very nice buy. And this was a seller over in the UK, in London, Bell Delta D. Not many feedbacks, 113 items person sold, but nice little pair of jars and sold for a reasonable price. All right, and then over here on Catawiki last week was this. This was on the newsletter page over on Bidamount, where all these other things have been too. Every week, as you know, we put things on there that we find, that we filter out from these two sites. And was this very nice bronze Coro incense burner in the shape of a double gourd. Just a great looking little bronze. And this is the cover that lifts off. It's got flowers on it. Beautiful, as you expect with good Japanese bronzes, beautiful cocoa brown patina. They did such great patinas. And then this very elaborate sort of casting element of tied ropes, very three-dimensional with the tassels coming off the end. And somebody picked this up. I think this was a great buy. 350 euros for this. This was a very nice burner. And it was a nice size too. It wasn't like 2 inches long. This thing was 23, about 8 inches long. It was good size. It looked nice on a table. And somebody picked it up for 350 euros or about $400 or so plus shipping. Good buy. That was a good purchase. Keep it up. And then on to this very nice Kangxi period Wukai decorated plate, a nice looking one. And what was nice about it looked to be in quite good condition. Again, the enamels, there's the back of it. It's got that raw, unglazed porcelain, sort of grooved track foot around the back of it. And there's another shot. There's a detail of it. Tiny bit of wear in the middle, but if those of you that have bought these before, you know that sometimes you buy these in this area of this particular type of plate from that period. This is often almost obliterated the way things happen to Swato enamels over time in the center of the bowl. They wear off. This one was in pretty good shape. That's not bad wear for one of these at all. And the rim looked good. It's not perfect, but boy, it's pretty good. This looked pretty good to me. And that nice sort of amber yellow that they used, and this beautiful red, and so forth, and very attractive. And it ended up selling. I think this was a pretty reasonable buy. Let's see here. Oh no, this hasn't closed yet. Excuse me. This ended up over in the. Oh no, it's getting ready to close. It's up to 350 euros. Next bid is 370, and expect it'll probably go for the estimate is 6 or 7. It should get up there. If it goes for less than 600 euros, somebody stole it. Somebody got a great buy. That's a nice plate. All right, I thought that one closed already. I guess not. All right, and then this one, Josh Chamberlain Juice has a sale up. We featured this vase last week. The auction came up after. It started after. We put the newsletter up for the week because this sale went live on Friday, and we generally get the newsletter page ready on Friday afternoon. And this is a heck of a nice vase. And if you pop this up here, it's got beautiful decoration, good green, and this is a big one, 25 inches in height. Here's a nice shot of the foot rim on it. Looks fine to me. And what size? I get the exact size of this. 24.75, so almost 25 inches. Very attractive. He's got a number of other things on there that you want to look at. He'll be in the newsletter page again this week. And this sale closes, I believe, on Monday. And then over here, this is something that hasn't closed yet. It closes in 2 days. And they have this listed. It caught my eye. They have this listed as 19th century. I don't think it is. I think it's 18th century. I like this bowl, this crackle glazed bowl. This looks older to me. I think maybe they were being a little conservative, but this nice turquoise ground, that concave unglazed base, and that foot all look, in the interior of it, all look a bit older than 19th century to me. It's up to only 140 euros with 2 days to go. And it is, how big is this? This is about 8 inches across, about 6 inches across. So it's decent size, like a little incense burner. And see what that does. If people think it's Kangxi or mid 18th century, it'll go up quite a bit more. And the shipping on it from Europe to here is 65 euros, which is about right. All right, now let's see what's coming up. There's a number of things we've set aside that are coming up for the next week. One of the things I wanted to mention, ceramics and collectibles. The Shangri-La guys have a bunch of things on that will be in the newsletter this week. Good range of stuff, as they always have. There's about 28 lots from them. And then, I can never pronounce this guy's name, J. Gartz Limited. Anyway, he's got some nice Netsky, little boxwood Netskys and so forth on here. Good patinas. He specializes in this stuff. He was the fellow that had the good bronze a couple of weeks ago. He's a pretty good picker over there. And then this is on. This is a big vase. It's 24 inches tall. And it's interesting because this pattern, typically, the vases that most of us have seen in this pattern, in this type, with this bluish background, done like this, Cantonese style, they always tend to be under 14 inches in height, typically. And this one is, hold on. Oop, there we go. Answering machine went off there a second. All right. And this is a rather unusually large one. These vases, as I said, are typically 12, 14, 15 inches, maybe. This thing is 24.4 inches tall. They have it down as being circa 1900. Could be a little older than that. It's a nice one. It's got good color. I like this decoration here. It looks particularly good. I would tend to be more likely to date this to about 1860 than 1900. It's up to $510. Expected to go for $1,500 or so, and we'll see. And then this is a very nice jacket coming up. This is getting a lot of interest, a lot of attention because it has several really nice dragon roundels. You've seen these before many, many times. They would cut them out of these robes and mount them on in frames. And this one has 5 of them. And one of these typically sells framed for anywhere from $700 or $800 up to $1,000. So this thing is going to get a lot of attention. It's already up to 4,000 because it's the complete jacket. It's a nice example. And this is from a seller down in Boca Raton, Florida. And also another little jacket. This is a lady's jacket, nicely done. Very, very pretty needlework all over it. Good cream ground. Looks to be in nice condition. I don't see a lot of wear up here in the collar. It's a late Qing, early Republic type. And it's up to $1,136. And this is from a seller out in Vallejo, California. And then there's a nice, if you like, this is a good week for silks, I guess. Nice looking late Qing kisi panel. But what's really nifty about this is that the framing around it, you tend to look at the middle and not look at the exterior. They've got all these different great animals running around and mythical beasts going around the exterior, and including horses and all these sort of auspicious animals, which make this really interesting. And I think this thing would look fantastic in a frame, properly framed, so you could still see all of the border elements. But this is very nice, and it's got the very typical gilt ground, and it's a fight scene. I like that a lot. And then, last couple of things. This is one of these Chinese gouache paintings of tea processing that's come up. This is on here. This thing is framed, ready to go. Here they are pulling out the tea. They pull it over here. They're starting some tea plants, it looks like, and so forth. These buildings, this is the same era, same genre of painting that we saw earlier of the porcelain making. This is one of tea production, because they did these sort of occupational albums and showing the various aspects of tea. Like in here, this would have had the tea being harvested and grown, and then another one of it being dried and being processed and baled and so forth, and it would have made up an album, a whole set. All right, but anyway, this is a nice one. Here's a better shot of it. Good detail, and it looks like it's in really great condition. What's the tag say on the back? Circa 1750. No, it's not that old. It's circa 1800 to 1820, but very good quality. Notice the details in the leaves and so forth. And this thing is only up to $100. Ought to bring 500 to 600 minimum. We've seen ones in this kind of condition before sell for over 1,000. So if you're looking for a good Chinese export painting, this is something you want to look at. But it is not from 1750. Okay, that's not correct. That they're a little optimistic by about 70 years. All right, and then this is coming up also. This is just a very nice little 16th century Ming Dynasty dish, beautifully done with these flowers. Rather nice, some firing things, lots of crackle in the glaze. Just like it. It's a good thing. It's only up to $73. It closes in 5 days. It will be on the newsletter page, and that's it. All right, and that's it for the week. If you enjoy these, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, come over to Bidamount.com and check out the newsletter page and see what we find each week on there. The global pages have been very busy this week. We're going to clean them out tomorrow because a lot of stuff on there is sold yesterday, whole sections, and we got some things we're going to put back up in there. And check out the pages we've set up that have the upcoming Bonhams and Christie's content on there. We've sort of merged them all into one place so you don't have to go from page to page to page. And that's about it. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll have a video next week on the upcoming sales in New York and talk a bit more about some of the highlights down there and talk about the Bonhams auction, which I like the flavor. The other sales are very good too, don't get me wrong. They're all good. I think Bonhams this time has got sort of a much more for every collector type of stuff on there, and they've got some great Japanese things. So anyway, that's where it is. Have a great weekend, and leave a comment. See you soon. Bye-bye.